So thank you for joining us for the final session of the day. It's another roundtable, and the title is "What is the future of Holocaust memory on social media?" And thank you to everyone who's joining online as well. I think someone will be monitoring the questions, and hopefully we'll still be able to take some questions despite the lack of time at the start. So first up, we have Ton Massini, who manages the Anne Frank House social media channels and is main editor of the website. He's worked for the communications department for more than 25 years, and I'm going to welcome him up to share his slides.
This one with echo? No. Thanks everyone for your patience. I had 20 slides. I only use one to help the other presentators. Well, as you can see, this is a quote of Otto Frank. He was really, well, of course, the father of Anne Frank, the only one of the people in hiding in the annex who survived. In a way, these words guide our mission and also shape our content strategy. It's about past, present, and future. We started on social media about 16 years ago. I started it 16 years ago with a Facebook page of the Anne Frank House. Most colleagues then said, why? Times changed, and we now we all understand why. We are active on most common channels: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. We have almost 1 million followers on Facebook, 240 Instagram, 170 TikTok, and it's still growing. We have this advantage that we're quite known, of course, because Anne Frank's diary is known. People want to visit the place where she mainly wrote the diary, and that helps us a lot, of course. That's also I wouldn't say a problem, but people follow us because of Anne Frank, and we are in Frank House is more. We not just a museum. We're also an educational organization, and as the quote Otto Frank in a way says, and that's why we are trying to post, of course, about Anne Frank, our museum, but also try to educate our followers, to tell them about what happened then, about anti-Semitism, what it is, how it started, and that's one of our main goals. But what we also see is when we talk about subjects like these, let's say the more educational, more difficult subjects, that the engagement drops. People want to see Anne Frank, want to see about her, pictures of her, quotes of her, and in a way we use a kind of I call it a sandwich method that we have. If you have these educational kind of posts, we when we have those, we have after that we have a more an Anne Frank post where we probably know people will like that, and a post which will reach a much higher engagement. In that way, we try to keep that engagement at a certain level, which is important, because if you constantly have, let's say, educational posts, then your engagement will drop and you will lose followers in the end. A lot has changed since a few years, since especially TikTok is coming. We're active on TikTok. There was a lot of discussion about it, but I'm glad we are on TikTok because it's probably the most important channel to reach younger generations. I said probably, but I'm in a way quite sure it is. We have to understand that young people, Gen Z, are what it's about 3 hours a day on social media, and a big part of that on, for instance, TikTok. and that's the way how they get their information. And not only that, they also use it as a search machine engine. When they want, when they're wondering about stuff, they don't go to Google as we maybe do, or find other ways. They go to TikTok and ask TikTok the question, and they find an explanation video about the subject they're searching on. So it's important to be active on all channels, but especially if you want to reach a younger audience on TikTok, if you want to share the right information about your kind of content, about your organization, on your subjects. So I think that's quite crucial to keep in mind. But also is, but I also find I have a team of 3 content creators. They're young. They're from 24 to 30, I believe. And that's important also to have people who really understand those channels. I do understand those channels. I'm also on it, but to really get the feel of it, to recognize trends on those channels, you really have to be active on them, and probably also in that age group where it's aimed at. I have some notes here. Yeah, there's also a kind of pitfall. I notice at my work, because I work with a lot of people at the Anne Frank House who are in this subject for a long time, about Holocaust, anti-Semitism, persecution of Jewish people. We all know a lot about it, so it's very easy to make a post about anti-Semitism, Holocaust, but keep in mind every time again that a lot of young people don't know these terms, and that's a kind of pitfall that you have to you have to explain constantly, every time, again and again. Every post you post could be the first post a young person will see about that subject. So you have to be constant. You have to repeat constantly and explain all those difficult terms and about what happened then. That's something to keep in mind. I won't take lots more of your time. I only would like to share this with you, that Holocaust memory is not only about remembrance. It's if we do that, then we miss the deeper purpose. The Holocaust is not only a memory of what was, it's a warning of what could be. The road to Auschwitz did not begin with gas chambers, it began with words, with polarization, with us versus them. It began with dehumanization, conspiracy theories, and above all, with silence. So I think let's keep that in mind. And to you, Kate. Thank you.
Hello. Thanks very much, Tom. So, Iris Grushek, who is an historian and head of the Public Relations and Digital Affairs Department at the Foundation of Hamburg Memorials and Learning Centers, commemorating the victims of Nazi crimes.
Thanks, Kate. So with Neuengamme, we were the first concentration camp memorial on TikTok. So it's again about TikTok. And I would consider social media activities to be a core or central educational tool also for memorials, meaning we have to be visible and be there to communicate via various platforms, which means which platform we use depends on our goals, who we want to reach, with which content, and we define this in a communication concept, and then try to contribute and create content that suits the respective community cultures. Memorials are already experts in storytelling. Then we should also engage in digital storytelling by using the platform's features, their aesthetics, and the language the audience knows. Here on TikTok, it means that we need to learn to approach complex topics in a playful way, but still appropriate to the topic, and break the topics down into easily consumable, snackable content. Or to put it positively, accept the challenge of contextualizing information in a clear, understandable, and yet multi-perspective way. For example, by using layers. TikTok that have worked for us represents our current communication concept. You can see it's a mix of personalized content on the right and fact-based storytelling on the other side. And here is where the concept of community culture and communication meets, with layers, cuts, hooks, challenges, also adapt trends, you already mentioned it, all in form of peer-to-peer communication for a younger audience. These videos you just see wouldn't work on B2B platforms like Blue Sky or LinkedIn or pinboard platforms like Facebook. Fragmentation is not only an issue, it can lead, for example, into series. We have made series such as Q&A with survivor Helga Belmet, unboxing history about objects from the concentration camp era, the last postcards that deportees sent from Theresienstadt to family members in Hamburg, or asked what is hidden behind doors in a memorial. These few examples already show a variety of possible topics within the framework of the memorial site work on short film platforms, and the number of possible videos in which we constantly provide new food for thought. In our case, the concept worked pretty well. These are the numbers for TikTok. The red part of the balloon circle are the 2025 numbers for TikTok. And it's just like what you said, TikTok is the most important tool right now. In our case, the concept worked pretty well and we reached the international audience we wanted to reach. And TikTok is so exciting because with one video, you can reach 2 million followers, or not even followers, because you don't have to follow us to see our videos. And that's great to reach such a big audience. We are still growing, more slowly, but the community on TikTok has changed in the meantime. Like they are getting older. And so we had to adapt our concept a little bit. Our bonus points on social media as a memorial are authenticity, credibility, and historical and educational expertise. Where we still need to improve is agile, flexible, and dynamic action and reaction. And this involves trend expertise and permanent resources for community management. And this leads me to my final introduction page. It would be devastating if the digital world were left to the also loud voices of right-wing ideologies, hate and fake news. My call to decision makers in Holocaust education institutions: take social media as a serious and necessary centerpiece of education. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. And swiftly following, seamlessly on from someone we've already seen in Iris's videos, is Marie Zacher. She has a bachelor's degree in history and political science at the University of Bremen and is currently a master's student in public history at the University of Bremen, TikTok creator at the Neuengamme concentration camp memorial site in Hamburg, as we've just seen in Iris's slides. So over to you, Marie.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me. Today, I want to introduce you to the project Shoah Stories on behalf of Samson Wollenberger, because he can't be here today, unfortunately, personally, but he's going to watch virtually. So, yes, you've already saw me in the videos. I work at the concentration camp memorial in Neuengamme, like Iris, so I'm a colleague of her, and I am one of the faces and one of the creators of the TikTok channel in Neuengamme. This means that we, as a memorial site, also have been part of the initiative, the TikTok Shoah Education and Commemoration Initiative. That's the full name. And this initiative is evolving right now into an educational platform. And this is the platform I'd like to introduce to you right now. The initiative started 5 years ago. And the aim of the initiative was and still is to encourage memorials, Holocaust memorials, museums and institutions to use TikTok as one form of their communicational concept for the educational work. So we want to get them acquainted with the platform itself, with the tools, with the different instruments that this platform provides. And yeah, like I said, encourage them to include it into their educational work. Before I explain, or before I tell a few more words about the project Shoah Stories, I'd like to show you a small video that will also feature Samson, and that shows the point of departure for Shoah Stories.
Hey TikTok, I've got a question for you. As there are more and more corporations and institutions joining this platform, how do you feel about concentration camp memorials producing videos on here?
Several years ago, Holocaust memorial sites around the world like Makhortykh posed the question whether it's appropriate for them to be on social media platforms like TikTok. Now, several years later, memorial sites from around the world are on the platform and platforms of this kind using it to educate. What we now want to do is take the next step and actually encourage students to use and pull out their phones to learn about the Holocaust. For this, we've developed educational material that you can download on Shoah Stories. Check out Shoah Stories and ask the question we've been asking ourselves as we're teaching about the Holocaust.
When I first told my friends that we, the memorial, are joining TikTok, they all had a good laugh. Maybe there is a contradiction there, doing Holocaust education in short form video. But we're here because we want to be an active part and talk to you. What do you think about commemorative work? Gen Z, we're interested in what you have to say.
Check out Shoah Stories.
Yeah, just as a quick information, you've also seen Mauthausen Memorial in the video, which is one of the memorials that have been also part of the initiative for quite a long time. So the big question in the beginning was, of course, how do we keep Holocaust memory alive? How do we keep it relevant? How do we keep it engaging, especially for the younger generation? And if we talk, of course, about social media, also how do we keep it historically accurate while maintaining, the respectfulness to these topics, to these very sensitive topics? Why at all short-form video content? Here you see some figures that show that we've heard it before in the last presentations, but where you can see that the vast majority of younger generations actually use platforms like TikTok. Not only TikTok, but even more so Instagram and YouTube, as you can see, so short form video content or video content in general. And that's also something that we've already heard. They don't only use it for entertainment, but also for informing themselves, for getting the news. So the objective was, of course, to educate, but also to create these high quality videos within this initiative, or with this initiative, that would then set standards for the way we discuss Holocaust remembrance online, or in general in short form video content, also on a global level. Here you see, not yet. 4 years into the initiative, we can say that more than 50 institutions from all over the world have participated, and these 50 Holocaust memorial sites, they had created more than 4,000 short videos, and these short videos had, again, gained more than hundreds of millions of impressions, meaning, just basically a lot of attention. Here you can see a short list of the participating institutions from Europe and, like I said, also on the global level. The initiative had also gained some press coverage, some attention by the media, and in 2022 it had won the Shimon Peres Prize. But now onto the platform Shoah Stories, the educational platform, because in the last days we've discussed in a lot of sessions, the sustainability. How can we keep all this progress that we have in the different memorials? How can we share it? How can we keep it in a long-term vision? And I think Shoah Stories can be maybe one answer to that, because the idea is that we gather all these videos, from all these different channels that had already participated in the initiative, and create a central gateway where we would bring all these videos together, and from this website, then educators, for example, could gather their content, their videos, for formal or informal educational learning settings. This website consists out of two interfaces. There's the student interface, which has, I think you can see it here maybe, this kind of TikTok or Instagram feel that the younger generation is used to. So it contains a lot of swiping, as you can see here. But there's also the educators interface, which has a more traditional or classic approach. And on this interface, we provide background information to the platform itself, but also these lesson plans that then contain ideas and concepts for using this short-form video content in school, for example, or in their different educational work. Since we also wanted to encourage the teachers to engage with the short-form video content, Marlene, you've already seen her you've seen her in the recent video, and I had created explanatory videos as well, so short videos that would explain, again, how this app works, how to include it into educational settings, and so on. Oh, sorry. Yes, the lesson plans that I already talked about, they are tailored to each country's or to each institution that participates in this initiative. So they are different from country to country, and that means that this platform itself will also be provided in different languages. You can see them here. And like I said, there had been more than 50 institutions that participated in the initiative, but there are about 30 active institutions right now that are also part of Shoah Stories. And you can see them listed on here. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. There should be a QR code actually, but there's not. No worries. Since the platform is still in development, we're interested in hearing your feedback because we'd like to know what we could improve, what you maybe think is a way it could work, or if there's something that you think is not working. So there's also a booth, I don't know if you've seen it, where we give a bit more of where we show more impressions of the platform itself, but where we also have a QR code for the survey that is still running, and we would be very happy to see you participating in the survey and to hear your expertise on this topic. So, yeah, that's it so far for me. I think I'm not in the 5-minute range, sorry.
Thanks very much, Katja. Marie. Okay, next up we have Katja Baumgartner, who is a gender and media scholar. She has an MA in Design and Photography and Gender Studies and Philosophy from the Humboldt University in Berlin. Her doctoral thesis focused on Ravensbrück's women's concentration camps and films in 2022. And currently she is a freelance postdoc associated at Selma Stern Center for Jewish Studies Berlin on gender in digital Holocaust memory. So welcome.
Thank you. My name is Katja. Thank you for having me, and I would like to dive deep into my dissertation. I'm as you said, a researcher trained and educated in the field of multimedia representation of the Holocaust with their multi-layered entanglements with gender. Overall, I've found more than 100 films about the Ravensbrück concentration camps that are in the scientific and then the public realm mostly unknown. In fact, that absence made me wonder whether it has something to do with the fact that Ravensbrück was primarily a camp for women. So my research emphasis on gendered history, gendered imaginarity, and narratives. In short, when and what and who is remembered, what and who is forgotten, and by whom and why. So let me quickly give you an overview over some of today's social media content and the role gender plays. Before I go into detail, a little bit of context. In Western culture and history, we are confronted with deep-rooted structures of power relations in which the fate and sheer existence of women and other minority groups in the public sphere were over centuries marginalized, minimized, overlooked, and neglected. Parallel to that, you find indeed a huge number of images, in example, sculptures, paintings, and/or descriptions, in which female figures and other minority groups play indeed a central role. These imaginations function symbolically speaking frequently as allegories and representing a community or a nation state. In ex negativo, they also sort of canalize hidden conflicts in societies that are not necessarily directly addressed. This paradox at first glance, the absence and the presence of females and other minority groups can also be can be found in the multifaceted representations of the Holocaust. When interrogating gender and how gender matters, mechanisms of gender as an idiom of remembrance, as Marion Hirsch states, become tangible. In an exclusions and remembrances become clearer. So, when going back at the academic sphere in the 1970s and 80s, before where, for instance, feminist US American historians, mostly females, began to ask about different experiences of women during the Holocaust, these questions were, which are today totally normal and part of our modern way to write history, they totally changed the history landscape in the long run. But back then they were highly provocative and disturbing, and in many regards also to many Holocaust survivors. But it's important to think about the resistance against gender-focused analysis. Marion Kaplan summarizes in her article, Did Gender Matter During the Holocaust, that gender is indeed an obvious and really inescapable lens. Mary Feldsteiner notes the simple, painful realization that each gender lived its own journey. John Ringelheim reminds us that the end, namely annihilation, does not describe and explain the process. Werner Goldenberg and Amy Shapiro brought the thought to the fore: different horrors, same hell. In continuation of gendered memory, here you can see two sketches titled Welcome and 2 Hours Later by the French Violette Lecoq, who was a nurse and joined the French resistance. She survived the Ravensbrück concentration camp, and after the war, she drew a series of 32 sketches in which she remarkably detailed depictions what happened in the camp. These sketches were used as evidences in the Hamburg Ravensbrück trial in 1946-47. And this is a screenshot of today's Ravensbrück Memorial website. What can we see? A larger group of mostly females with huge luggage is standing in an almost empty room with a seemingly wooden floor and walls. At the ceiling, strangely, shower heads are visible. The women are hardly well dressed, some with fur coats, chic hats, high heels, and elegant dresses. They are standing as if they were all looking towards a counter desk on the right side, a very tiny table on the right. In sharp contrast, there are the female escorts wearing large, entirely black capes and strong boots. Their fragility on the one side and the blackness on the other symbolizes death and danger for the former. The next sketch is entitled 2 Hours Later. We see now a group of females in uniform in striped dresses. Their heads are shaved, they appear thin, even more fragile, almost broken, and they are standing now organized in long rows of 5. Violette Lecoq depicts almost everything what happened during the humiliating procedure of arriving in the camp. So the point is, after the war, not many women were able to speak about sexual violence, the sheer existence of the view of the perpetrators on them. Their experiences in the camps, the pain, the feelings, the losses. Sometimes they were even confronted with hostility, with victim-perpetrator inversions, blamed to be responsible what happened to them. This all left deep wounds and traumatized, and this is part of the gendered silencing. Another question, how does this translate into the social media? The following TikTok by the US Holocaust Educational Trust here in the UK shows Malet Ribbich describing her arrival in the Ravensbrück camp in only 54 seconds. Her presentation lasted about an hour and took place on January 27 in 2017.
We had to undress, our clothes was taken away, and our heads were shaved, we went through cold communal showers, and when we came out at the other end, we were given the concentration camp garb, the striped jacket and skirt, and when we looked at one another, we could not recognize each other. It was like they've taken our identity away, our personality. We felt like they had taken our very soul. And that the effect was to make us lose hope. And without hope, there's no chance of survival.
What is noticeable is, amongst other things, the sheer weight of her memory and the difficulty to speak about her experiences as a teenage girl at the age of 14. But what we also see, interestingly, is the audience, which is listening to her. The clip is edited and music is used. So my interpretation would be Malet Ribbich shows us, the public, in only 54 seconds, the complex gendered memory that has evolved throughout almost 80 years. What I would like to address further on social media is social media as a new space for diverse, gendered, and former marginalized memory. So let me give you a few examples. Romani Resistance Day on May 16th. The post remembers the fighting against their murder by Romani people in Auschwitz-Birkenau camp on May 16th in 1944. The next TikTok is by Eden Cohn, who travels from Israel with her family to Berlin on a Jewish heritage tour, visiting the building in which her grandfather grew up. We have here an individual young content creator who tells her own family story next to rather ordinary content like vacations, cosmetics, and fashion. The Gedenkkugel, the Instagram account by the Gedenkkugel Jetzt exists since 2020. It is run by a group of international activists. Historically, they are both from East and West Germany, from Austria, from Denmark and other countries. They were already autonomously since the 1980s, exclamation mark, meaning the time of the women's liberation movement in one way or another, engaged for a memorial for lesbian women and girls in Ravensbrück and Uckermark camp. The remarkably long institutional and official resistance against the memorial that was inaugurated only in 2022 shows how contested gendered memory today still is. So the TikTok account by the Neuengamme Memorial was already introduced by Iris, and they focused from the beginning on diverse memory. Here a clip from June 24th, 2024, Pride Month, about the paragraph 175. The next post is also from 2022 by the Galerie Auslage, honoring little-known Eva Mamlok, a Jewish teenager in Berlin who fought on her own with friends against the Nazis. What you can see here is a t-shirt print by artist Anisi Sarasola, worn by Alexandra Welz-Rombach, that they try new ways and forms and patterns on what is called an utopian memorialization. The Holocaust Memorial in Montreal, Canada, honors also Pride Month with a virtual film screening, which was expanded until end of June, about Freddie Hirsch, a German-born Jew who was openly gay back then and who was murdered in Auschwitz-Birkenau on March 8th in 1944. In the Terezin ghetto, he took care of almost or more than 4,000 children and young adults as the head of the youth group. Deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau, he tried also to help children there and even planned an uprising. Jewish resistance is often largely ignored, and even more so the resistance of Jewish women. One post about the resistance group around Faye Schulman came from Tanya Raab, the creator of Oi Jewish Mama, who posts content about Jewish life in contemporary German. Her main focus is not the Holocaust, but her highly creative contributions in which she draws attention to stories that stand in contrast to emblematic symbols of German remembrance. And the Instagram post by the EVZ Foundation informs, together with Zukunft Plus, about invisible stories about forgotten forced labors of all genders from Maghreb in North Africa during the Nazi time. The next screenshot by the Making Gay History podcast by Eric Marcus with a series from February 27 this year on the Dutch Frida Bellafanta, who was a conductor. After the German occupation of the Netherlands, she started to help Jews to flee by forging IDs and organizing sabotages. Making Gay History podcast renders an oral history interview with Bellafanta from 1994, arranged by the USHMM. So to wrap it up quickly, and you can see a couple of more slides, posts from more recently. I would argue gender as an analytical category touches entangled, complex, and often tabooed topics, and it still stands at the center of past, current debates and conflicts. Therefore, it's part of memorialization. The sheer multitude, the messiness of images shows entanglements and mergings into one another with current events.
Thank you so much, Katja. So last but not least, we're joined by Laura Kulik, who is a journalist and head of communications at the Holocaust Museum in Brazil. Her position she's held for 9 years. She is the general coordinator of the Anne Frank educational program in Brazil and leads the communication team at Instituto Plataforma Brasileira, sorry for the pronunciation, the official representative of the Anne Frank House in the country. She is also an alumna of the US Embassy in Brazil.
Hi, guys. I think when you think of Brazil, you probably think of Rio and São Paulo or Salvador. You don't think of cold Curitiba, but we are there. The Holocaust Museum in Curitiba is the first and only Holocaust museum in the country. Brazil has received about 25,000 Holocaust survivors, and we do a job of basically memory research and education through a permanent exhibition on the theme. We are also cataloging all of these survivors, or at least trying. We have about 5,000 people cataloged. We exist for 14 years and receive about 30,000 visitors per year. We have a very unique kind of team, I say. We are mostly female and LGBTQ team. And this is very important to me. I've been, well, when I started there 9 years ago, it was just me, basically, coordinating myself. And when I started thinking like, okay, so we want to be accessible, we want this memory to reach new audiences, but how? And then how can you thrive for diversity if you're not diverse yourself? So, you know, we wanted those people to work with us. And for that, we focus on user experience, not mainly like experts in the sense that they weren't necessarily like researchers. We wanted users. So, okay, you can study about TikTok, you can study about Instagram. It's different than actually using and knowing what's fun, what's different, what's not. And this was very important to all of us. So basically, I just wanted to point out that all the work that we do is just because of these people, not only me. And we are kind of huge. Brazilians are intensely online. And if like any institution, if you post something about Brazil, like thousands of Brazilians will be online commenting, and that helps in that way. So we are on WhatsApp, we have a channel in WhatsApp, and then we also do contact with visitors. We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and we create specific content for each platform. So all content is created thinking about the target audience that we want to reach. And this is very important because one thing I notice is a lot of people think social media is basically just putting the thing you think is interesting online, and it's quite different actually, especially when you're building memory, because when you're in Europe, you can go to the streets and you can see things and say, oh, this is from the Holocaust era, this is this. But in South America, you're building this from the ground. Some people there, actually, I'd say half of the people that go to the museum don't know what being Jewish is. What are Jewish people? What do they believe in? So you are doing a work from the ground up, and this is very important in the sense that it kind of dictates how we're going to create this content. And it's very important to say that we try to create real connections to things that are happening today. And we at times get some criticism for it, but this is very important for us. We believe that Holocaust memory must be useful, it must be present, and it must make sense for the kind of society that we want to build. So we do a lot of, like, besides posting things, we do a lot of like different series of content. And I'm not going to get into like all of them because it's just too much. But we were very present during the pandemic, and that was, I don't know, I think half of the followers and viewers that we have today it came in because of the pandemic, because, you know, we managed to make this awful time also an important time to discuss these things and to talk about prejudice against the Asian community in Brazil, and to talk about different topics that were coming up during those times. And so this is it. We believe memory must evolve to stay relevant, and we just want it to be meaningful, digital, and inclusive. It's always important to say that we don't do this only with our communications team, so we do it with historians in different departments like pedagogical and also accessibility. All our content have image descriptions, so it can be accessible to different audiences. And a few years back, 2 years, Kate knows this video, we did a campaign with UNESCO for Holocaust Memory Day, and I think it kind of represents how we see things. So, hope it works. When you reach here, maybe it will work. Told you, I knew it. Please don't be too loud.
Passando por 85 anos, sobreviveu ao Holocausto. Eu estava passando na rua, de repente se aproximou uma pessoa de mim com um cachorro. Começou a me bater com socos e cacete. E incitou o cachorro também para me agredir também. E ele não desgrudava de mim, me batia continuamente. E o cachorro me mordia. É uma pessoa que não tolerava ninguém que seja diferente. Gente como eu, temos que morrer, dizia. A história que estou contando agora não é minha história. É do Neno, com quem isso aconteceu em Curitiba. Me identifiquei com ele. Eu gostaria muito de conhecê-lo. Ah, quem está aí? Tudo bem, querido? Igual. Um abraço.
Meu nome é Odivaldo Carlos da Silva, mais conhecido como Neno. Essa história que o senhor Gabriel contou é a minha história. Foi uma história de muita violência racial. Sou músico profissional há muitos anos já. Desde os meus 14 anos eu trabalho com a música. Esse é o último show que eu fiz. Essa é minha filhinha. Eu e a minha esposa. Diz que me ama ainda.
Eu não desisto.
Sobrevivi a essa situação. Que as pessoas ouçam e vejam que isso é um absurdo, né? Acontecer ainda hoje em dia.
A gente sempre tem que relembrar as pessoas para que a coisa não se repita.
Manter a história viva é lutar contra o ódio. Ontem, hoje, amanhã. Viver para contar. Contar para viver.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to welcome up the panelists to the table.
So all three of these you can just pass around. These ones go up to the internet.
Okay, thank you for the tech support in the room. So we have about 25-30 minutes with a strict deadline to get to the Brighton 360. So I'm going to try not to take up too much time with the mic so we can hear more from the experts here, and then we'll make some time for questions in the audience as well. So thank you everyone for those fascinating presentations. I think one thing that we can all agree on is TikTok is quite prevalent in everything that you've presented, and I think that might be a nice place to start. Picking up firstly on what Ton said around the context, so you're sort of saying each post needs to be recontextualized. And I'm thinking something different that happens with TikTok is the algorithmically arranged content. So things are often, you know, we speak about the For You page. So how have you navigated that kind of different distribution of content? And I'm interested in the tensions as well around this idea of searching on TikTok that you mentioned earlier. So I can put this question out to everyone, but how are you kind of navigating that algorithm in that way, and how do you think about content like that?
Yeah, well, TikTok is, well, the algorithms of TikTok are the most peculiar algorithms there are, but they work quite well, actually. People who are on TikTok will recognize this. They, if you're on TikTok just a little while, soon all the videos you get are videos you're in stuff you're really interested in. So that's really weird. TikTok is what you have to understand is TikTok is really different from all other social media channels. There you have followers and you create content for your, which is first to be seen by your followers, and that's crucial. On TikTok, it's totally different. If you have no follower at all, your content can go viral, and it can also be around. If you have millions of followers, your content can do nothing at all. So it's really every post should be, really be perfect to your audience. And for us, it's just trial and error, and look at the stats and hope your page or your post appears on the For You page, and just learn from what you're doing. But it's a constant battle against the algorithms.
And there's this notion, a lot of academics talk about, you know, they're trying to tame or train the algorithm, and there's many methods people, you know, like things like petting, where they continuously watch the same content in the hope that it will appear. I guess to kind of nuance the question slightly, and this is to everyone as well, how are you dealing with the kind of TikTok vernaculars? I think Laura said, you know, you think about your social media channels and how you uniquely make things for each. So I guess the question more widely is, how do you attend to those kind of trends and the vernaculars of TikTok itself in your content, and what are the tensions and opportunities in those?
Is it? Okay. When you think of trends, trends work really well on Instagram and on TikTok as well, but it's either a hit or a miss in that way. So especially in the last few years with the war in Israel, we've understand that, like I've mentioned before, certain topics became way more sensitive, and to some people, in some extent, doing some trends, at least in our context in South America, could be seen as harmful or offensive. So we usually avoid getting into trends, even though we understand that they're very helpful in that way. So nowadays what we do is that we select trends that at least seem totally unharmful. So, okay, this could not be interpreted in another way. This could not be seen as a joke. This could not be seen as insensitive. But I mean, it's hard to tell, because once it's online, it can become anything. But still, especially when thinking about TikTok, we think, what do these young people want to see? What are they listening to? Who are they watching? So it's more about trying to create something that brings out like something new for them, or something that they're curious about, or we usually do a lot of myths when it comes to like Holocaust myths, and that helps a lot, because usually, especially in the last few years, we avoid getting into trends. Just, you know, yes, they help, but you don't necessarily need them to do a good job.
I would agree that it's so important to listen to the community. So don't do like videos you are interested in. Of course, we do it as well, but listen, what does the community want to hear? And like your last video, it was so powerful because everyone was thinking, oh, it's a story about the Holocaust, and then it's much more, and be relevant for today. And I think we can use trends. That's not a problem, because our communication concept is talking about working at a memorial, and then you can do it. So just think about which ways to go, and then just follow it. So I think lots is possible, and it's a challenge, of course, to get into the algorithm, but it can happen. But then I think, is it good to get viral? Because we went viral with a video very early on with millions of views, and it was not educational at all. Someone was standing next to a great window frame, right? And it was a swastika. To be seen, and the creator just said, when you're going to a memorial site, look what you find, what you see, and what this means. And so we went viral in a white male American right-wing bubble, and they said, oh yeah, we love swastikas, and we are like, oh wow, no. And the next video we did was talking about what does this swastika mean. So, and interesting enough is TikTok is one of the channels where the most comments appear. And it's by far the most dialogue channel, and that's great, because it's not just us telling the other something, it's we create together a new community, a new commemoration culture. And that's so great. We are not only like gatekeepers, but we are all together self-learners, do you say, or something like this? We learn together how the future, how the memory will be shaped in the future, and that's great. And so, yeah.
I'm going to keep passing the question down, but we will come back, I think, to the idea of communities and comments, and I think even with hashtag Jewish Talk and things like that, which I saw on some slides earlier. So yes, I'll pass on.
Yeah, I agree, of course, with Iris and also with you. I would say what I prefer, or what I like about this app or platform, which has already been mentioned, is this very interactive moment, this participative moment. And like Iris now said as well, that's what the culture of remembrance thrives thrives off. I think it's also a task or a job for historians or educators to create these spaces and offer this possibility to then get into a dialogue with different people. We create these videos in English because we want to reach an international audience, and because we want to create this space where people who don't know anything about Neuengamme come across a video and stumble upon it via the For You page, for example, and where maybe there's a surprising element or there's a connecting moment where they think, this is something that I can relate to or not. And that's then the moment where we can maybe get into a dialogue, or where we can start a discussion. And we, of course, we do more educational videos, but sometimes these trends as well, they help to create the first access to a topic like this.
Continue, yeah. Well, I would like to address another perspective because in particular social media or the whole internet, so as you have seen, I'm looking at different platforms simultaneously, really addresses also the concerns of groups that are not usually catching a huge audience. And that is a huge potential that the internet as a whole, to put it really simple as that, has, and kind of brings out more and different stories that we had before, because when looking at historically because, for instance, I used an example from, about Ravensbrück. We had indeed untold stories also in the 50s, things that are became forgotten. For instance, the group of women who were imprisoned after the target verbotener Umgang, forbidden kind of relationships. I found a film from the 1950s. So they were already there, these topics, but they kind of became silent afterwards. And so when looking at the internet as a whole and with the all different platforms and channels that we have, we can, I think the algorithms find also people who are looking and interested in marginalized stories. And that could be or is definitely a potential.
Thank you. So I think, again, there's a tension emerging between what Ton started with, was this idea that Anne Frank, right? Anne Frank is popular. This is, you know, and then we've got a viral video for a Nazi swastika at a camp. So I guess, in a way, it's kind of like, what could we be doing more? How can we use these tools in a different way to push it further? Is there any kind of work that you're doing thinking about how you can move it even further? I think Show Us Stories is a really good initiative to discuss more in this context. And with that question, I think brings up the idea of labour and the teams behind them, because several people here are talking about, you know, small teams of young people, 2 to 3, I think you said, Ton. And we know that you've worked with volunteers, Iris, at the memorial site. So where do you see the need for kind of the humans, the content creators? I know Tobias was interested in thinking about influencers and how we can expand to work with them. So I want to open that up.
Totally, because we have to think outside echo chambers. So, and it's a huge potential to work with co-creation and to just invite creators and influencers. And for example, we did it with on Instagram with an expat in Hamburg who's doing mainly restaurant tips, but then she visited us and was talking about a completely different topic, and we reached a totally new audience. Or we did something with, it said Know and Grow, a young male sport interested people, and he was talking, so it was great, it was amazing, and all of a sudden we reached other people, and also inviting experts. We were talking about this pride things, and we had a hashtag thing called Pride Untold, and we asked queer creators to talk about their topic, because they are the experts. And again, we reached a new audience, and this is something we should consider much more, because we don't know everything, and we want to go outside our bubbles. We want to reach other people, so and that's, I think, a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. One thing we noticed in the last few years is that the more specific you get, the better results you also get. And so for instance, I don't know if it's in like universal, is it only in Brazil, but you have like the month of autism of conscience. I don't know how you call that. Awareness, yeah. So we did this content on how autistic people were persecuted and the Asperger, anyway. And we got like in one day, 3,000 followers. And we were so shocked. I mean, we didn't know that people liked to discuss this. Like, it didn't even occur. We posted because we thought it was important. I mean, we didn't post thinking it would have such a huge reach. But the thing is, and I noticed this, is that people need to feel represented in a way. And when you find a specific niche of people, then you get to reach a larger audience. So this is something that we've been paying more attention lately, is to find groups that are underrepresented and that have a connection to these kind of themes, and how we can put that inside our, social media. And also this content, for instance, so this influencer who speaks about autism shared the content, and then this became so huge. So also, it's not about like a random influencer, is knowing who to reach and who to connect, because at the same time, depending on the influencer, it could go like so bad at the same time, right? No?
Yeah, it's, well, my neighbor wants me to tell about the fist of Justin Bieber, which was a long time ago. He was very young, and we posted about his visit, I think, on Facebook, and we had, well, it reached hundreds of thousands of people, probably Justin Bieber fans, all believers. Sorry, yeah, you know it, of course. And they were all new, and they were we had remarks like, who is that, and why is she bugging him? Well, things like that. So it's a way to reach a new crowd. We had it before when famous people visit, or people with a lot of followers and share their story about their visit. That's a way to get a lot of a lot of attention. But it's difficult to step out this bubble, and that's it is important. Yeah, so it's a way to look for. That's also a way why, for instance, TikTok with the For You page, it can be very important. It's a way to reach new people. Yeah.
Okay, I would not indulge the time here to talk about a piece me and Victoria wrote about Montana Tucker, but I would say it's interesting because, in a way, she kind of abandons all of her own TikTok algorithms to basically do a broadcast logic YouTube video. She collaborated, partly funded by the Claims Conference, and she made a 10-part documentary called Never Forget. And actually what we've seen there is she's now become actually kind of a spokesperson in the Holocaust community. So there's sort of us reaching out to them, and then actually how they continue that work is really interesting. But to be a bit provocative then with the next question is this all just for young people? That would be my sort of... Is it just for young people, social media? We're talking about a specific group.
No, not for us. Well, as I told earlier, we started with Facebook a long time ago, and we have a lot of followers who are really active. And I heard you telling, we get the most reactions on TikTok, we get the most reactions on Facebook. Well, we have almost 1 million followers. Some posts are really exploding. We have thousands of remarks, but if you really read them carefully, it's very clear that it's quite a quite older audience on that. So all social media has different age groups attached to it. Let's say Facebook is obviously older, Instagram is in between, TikTok is young but it's also getting older and older. And well, we're now waiting for a new channel to Gen. What is it? A? Gen A?
Anyone else want to speak to that?
So I was going to say, I don't know, somebody wants to, okay. To me, it's like you said, every social media has their audience, and it's going to change from each institution. So yeah, on Facebook and Instagram as well now, because people from Facebook migrated to Instagram, we have an older audience. And one thing that it was important for us, and the accessibility team in our museum helped us understand, is that, okay, so if you're trying to reach an older audience, you have to have content that is interesting for them, and we do. We try to diversify our content in the sense that we have something for younger people and then for older people. And also, when you're designing things, you must consider that. So bigger letters, higher contrast, things like that can also help people. You know, we need to think of all audiences. It's not just about young people.
So this is all positive, but I also want to turn the conversation as well to how do we deal with what is inevitable, a growing kind of denial, distortion, anti-Semitism that kind of permeates social media in different circles, and what do we do with that, and how do you respond to that in your organizations?
So that fits
perfectly because, as I said, social media is so quick, and we have to be more agile. Do you say something? Agile, yeah. Because we can't discuss 3 years if we want to be on TikTok, because then TikTok is not interesting anymore. So we have to be quicker. And all the right-wing and extremists and so on, they have so much money. They have all the bots. They have these communities supporting them. It's all about this, how do you say, it's Markus Bösch said participatory propaganda. Is it the correct word? So, so we have to do something against this. And we are good. We have the stories. We know how storytelling goes, and we have something to tell, and we should do it everywhere where we can do. So obviously we are on all platforms to reach different ages, to reach different people with different topics, using the community cultures.
Maybe just to add something. Yes, I think memorials and institutions or museums, they take or play a big role, of course, but they can't do it all. They educate, but it shouldn't be the role only, of these institutions to educate about these things. So I think media literacy is, of course, plays a big role, and should start maybe early on in school, so that younger people are, learn these techniques to see what is misinformation or what is fake news, or how to deal with these short video forms or content. And maybe in general, these platforms they need a bit more of regulation in general. I know it's a difficult topic, but in the future, I think we do need some sort of regulation. It's an open space, but it can't be a space where you can just say everything. And we can, flag certain comments under our videos, or use certain filters so that they don't appear at all. But I think there needs also the platforms itself need to be more active themselves. And yeah.
I agree. But the problem is that all those platforms are doing less and less, and leave it to the audience or what happens. Especially when also AI is becoming important, and it's important that also those companies making those AI maybe label certain websites, our websites, of course, and also social media content, label it. Those they show reliable and trustworthy content, and let them be a bit higher in the search results or in the AI answer. I think the big tech should do something. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe I can add from a researcher's perspective, not from a museums or memorial sites perspective. It's really difficult as a researcher kind of to get and hold or get an overview, because everything changes so quickly, and all different platforms have different algorithms and different kind of imaginary that really renders on and on. And I would kind of propose an idea. Kind of, why don't you just reuse old clips? Because typically, when looking at some of these web pages or sites and social media content sites, I think sometimes older, that are not older than a year or so, really are so interesting to re-show them and bring them once again to the fore, that I'm often wondering, why putting so much energy in producing permanently something new, why don't we just use and try that again, and using it and looking at that what we have done already once again. So it's just an idea which is kind of contradictory to social media or to the new media itself. But I like to watch old movies as well, and they tell us quite a lot about the Holocaust in that different time phase in which they were produced. So, and kind of intermingling all the media that we have already, we kind of find something, a new approach in our today's time.
Yeah, actually in the museum we do that a lot. We think we at times put so much effort creating new things that we just ignore the things that happened before. It's similar to the idea of like we're always creating new digital content and then at some point you're not even using anymore. But I like to add to the moderation, because I had a friend the other day telling me, oh, because people are now blocking, like closing comments, and we have to be like Democrats and this and that. And then what I actually said to him, I think democracy works for a country, but for social media, the secret is moderation, basically. So what we do as an institution, we have open comments. However, if they are disrespectful or criminal or like clear prejudice, we delete them. If they happen again, we block the user. And if some content for whatever reason becomes like a space of hatred in comment sessions, then yes, we do close comments, especially because we are treating it with a very sensitive topic. And at times, I was telling a person here before, at times it's a Holocaust survivor there talking, and then you have so much hatred in the comments that is just, it makes no sense for a Holocaust institution to allow that. And at times when something becomes viral, it's impossible to moderate because it's the whole time. So I think that's the secret, moderation.
And in your moderation, do you save those comments? What do you do? I know we've heard stories before when we've spoken to other memorial sites saying, it could be at the bus stop on the way home that you're receiving these comments and you have to deal with it outside of work hours and they're international, so you're sleeping while the comments are coming in. This seems like a real on-the-ground problem, so how do you tackle that?
I work all day, every day. That's what I do.
Yeah, it's same with us. We are on schedule to moderate all the comments, and it means also delete comments and block comments on a daily basis. It happens, yeah, sadly.
As a researcher, obviously it would be fascinating to see that data. So do you preserve it, or is it just a case of...
What we just did, we just started a new TikTok channel. It's really new. It's in Dutch. I plan to put it on YouTube with subtitles, so I can share it. These are conversations between two friends, but one is Muslim and one is Jewish, and we found 6 duos talking with each other about what's happening in the world, and they know each other well. These conversations are really, really beautiful, I have to say, really powerful, and maybe also hopeful. And we put them on a new channel, Dutch language channel. And under some of those posts, the comments were almost horrific, and lots of them, the majority of was really negative, also positive. So we had to do a lot of deleting there. We had about 20 videos, TikToks, and now these comments we used to make new videos. So we had these comments, we picked a few out, and we showed them on people on the street. We did some street interviews and let people on the street comment on that. And those comments were really nice also. So it's a way to work with it, and we will show some more. And after that, we will probably do some explanation videos about the things they're all saying and that, etc. So it's a constant process of react and act.
Yeah, I think that's a really innovative approach. I think it speaks also to Shoah Stories and what Neuengamme has done, asking people what they want to see and saying, should we even be on here to create that dialogue? I think that's great. I'm not sure how we're doing for time. I think we need to check our... So I want to open to the floor before we close. So does anyone have any burning questions to our social media panel? I know everyone's tired and been a long day. Yes.
What do you think of something like Eva's story. So you haven't discussed this because all of you are doing real content, but Eva's stories is this girl, video content as if somebody in the Holocaust had a social media account. So I wonder what your opinion is about something like that.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. Well done. Yeah, I think social media should be a mixture of showing these real stories of real people about their experience in the Holocaust. Yeah, I think it's great. Well done. And an example for many other kinds of that kind of videos.
I might add something. I mean, I think it was launched in 2019, am I correct? And I think it marks a turning point, and which is really important I'm always a huge fan of looking at large time scales and time phases. And I think from that on, more digital content in varieties of ways were possible. And I think it opened the door, I would say.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. I think it's a beautiful project. I think it reaches a younger audience. However, I, as a professional, prefer to deal with real testimony, especially because we are in the last generation. Like, in a few years, we won't have survivors left. So I get it. It's not I don't think fiction is a problem, but it's not how I choose to work, basically.
Okay, are there any other questions in the audience? Please raise your hand. Okay, so I'm going to respond then with probably what will be our final question. As part of the Landecker Lab, and some of you have been on calls with us before, we're developing a social media toolkit. So this is one of our packages where we want to increase media literacies, and we want to, educate people on what currently is out there, and then also help memorials enhance and expand that kind of package. So if you could say one thing that would go in that toolkit, which we would bring out to other people, what would it be? What do you think needs to be in a kind of package to help memorials enhance their social media strategies?
Okay, I can't give a longer time. I think the most important always is if you want to share stuff on social media, just don't. There are lots of trends, things happening, but stay close to yourself about how you think about things, and your organization thinks about everything happening. So stay close to yourself. Don't let you let the world do their thing, but do your thing.
I think it's quite similar to what you said. I'd say listen to your context. Holocaust education and memory works differently in different countries and in different, specific moments. So listen to your context. At times, you have to have a certain language, and then you have to have a certain, design. You need to listen to your audience, where you're coming from, who you're trying to reach. It's not the same logic for everyone.
Be authentic, and I totally agree, and listen to the community cultures. So don't put something from there to another, that won't work. And also embrace the digital, I would say, to the institutions, and deploy personnel accordingly.
Mm-hmm. I can only agree. I would add, create spaces where maybe you don't see yourself, or the institution sees themselves just as someone answering questions, but also as someone posing questions. So listen to the community, listen to the people if they have questions, be open-minded, see on eye-to-eye level, and not, top-bottom education, but be open.
Yeah, and continuing to that, give room for new voices and new perspectives, which are very important in Holocaust memory at all times. Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we will close, and everyone is welcome to join us at the Brighton 360. I'd like to thank my panelists again, and I hope we can continue discussion over some dinner and drinks this evening. So thank you very much, everyone.